Hello there, everybody. This is Mel Allen. You know, baseball sure has its ups and downs. Down and out in Cleveland? Oh, no, not this year, man. Things are looking up for the Tribe, thanks to a band of up-and-coming stars. Once down in the valley, the Dodgers are on the rise, planning a sneak attack that they hope will lead them to the top of the heap. Broken down earlier in the year, a rebounding Yankee gets up off the deck, homering his way to new heights on the ladder of success. You can't get much higher than this, as three of the game's best look out from the mountaintop. So stay tuned, because we're about to peak, y'all, right here on This Week in Baseball. Celebrating our 10th anniversary.
I'd just like to thank This Week in Baseball. I know this is your 10th anniversary, and it's just a real pleasure to be on your show, and I watch you every week, and I know all the people out there do, too.
American League uprisings. In Cleveland, the Indians are on the warpath. Folks, it's August, and that usually means the Cleveland Indians are out of the race. For the last 17 years, the ever-helpful Indians have finished in the second division. But now, the times are changing in Cleveland. The new-look Indians are young, hungry, and right in the thick of a fierce pennant race, thanks to a master plan of a few years back that's beginning to pay off.
On paper, we had an outstanding pitching staff. We have Blyleven and Sutcliffe and Barker. And the average age of the club was about 32, 33. We had lost 92 games. And I talked to my bosses, Phil Segui, Gabe Ball, and I said, if you think they're going to win more games next year than they did this year, I said, you're wrong. And so we formed a plan to make the pitchers available to teams that might be in contention.
Len Barker was the first pitcher to go, sent to Atlanta in a trade that brought starting center fielder Brett Butler and third baseman Brooke Jacoby to Cleveland. This year, the 26-year-old Jacoby made the All-Star team and is currently on pace for his second straight 20-home-run season. The rebuilding continued when Rick Sutcliffe was traded to the Cubs for outfielders Mel Hall and Joe Carter early in 1984. After showing promise in each of the last two seasons, Carter has really emerged as a star in '86, leading the Indians in almost every offensive category.
My dream was to get to the big leagues, and I had the opportunity with Chicago. I was back down in AAA in '84, and I didn't know really what their plans were for me. But when the trade came about, I was happy because I was getting a chance to play with a team, a young team that was on the up and coming, and I was getting a chance to play in the major leagues, and that's what it was all about.
Unlike Carter, Hall was already a major league starter when he was traded, and the move to Cleveland was unsettling.
When I first got here, I wasn't too happy because, you know, in Chicago, we were in first place and we were playing good baseball, and that was a sort of surprise. And at the time, Cleveland was really struggling. You know, they had no crowd support. So if you play good baseball, you know, in turn, the fans come out and see you, and that's what's happening here right now. And it's a real good situation. And if it continues, you know, it's just no telling how far you can go.
Maybe all the way, Mel. Now, wouldn't that be something? Now it's on to Minnesota, where a former Indian collected a few more scalps. This week, Minnesota's Bert Blyleven reached 2 personal milestones. He not only struck out a career-high 15 in one game, Bert also topped the 3,000 mark in career strikeouts, becoming only the 10th pitcher in history to do so. Bert accomplished the feat in the 17th Major League season of a career that began with the Twins in 1970. That year, the teenage Blyleven won 10 games and the Rookie of the Year award, thanks to some help he received from his elders.
Jim Cott and Jim Perry really kind of took me underneath their wing, and I remember I went to eat with them a lot, and we talked a lot of pitching, and maybe after a ball game I would pitch. I remember one time in New York I pitched a ball game and pitched pretty good, and we went out for dinner after, and we kind of went over the game and maybe little flaws that I might improve next time out. I remember my first game because the first guy I ever faced, a guy named Lee May, hit a home run off me. So, you know, I thought, oh, geez, that scared me, and I was very nervous. But what really got me was the guy that was up third was a guy named Frank Howard. And Lee May stood about 6'3", and Frank Howard stood about 6'8". And I thought, if Lee May hit one 400 feet, how far is Frank Howard going to hit one? Bill Rigney came out after that home run and told me, you know, welcome to the major leagues, and said, now relax. And we ended up winning the game 2-1 as the only run they got.
Bert moved on to Pittsburgh after 8 successful seasons in the American League and helped the Pirates win the World Championship in 1979. 2 years later, he was traded to Cleveland, where he rebounded from an injured elbow to win 19 games in 1984. Then in August of '85, Bert was traded back to where he started and is once again showing Minnesota fans just why he's one of the best pitchers in baseball. From a cool and collected veteran pitcher to a hot young hitter, Mike Pagliarulo of the Yankees has surprisingly become one of the American League's top sluggers. After hitting just 22 homers in his previous year and a half in the majors, Pags has already gone into his home run trot 25 times this season.
The biggest difference this year for me is the fact that I've been putting the lineup every day, and I've had a chance to get a lot of at-bats right away, and that's why I feel pretty good about my swing, and I feel pretty consistent, and I'm in a good groove. When you're playing every day, you get in a good groove and you stay there.
For a while, it looked as if Pags would have to get out of there when he was hit in the face with a pitch in Oakland on May 30th. But 2 days later, Pags was back in the lineup and still in the groove.
Holy cow, did he cream this? Oh, you know, I can't believe it. Holy cow, here's a guy I didn't think could play for a month.
When I get hit in the face, I wanted to get back right away, because sometimes the worst thing you can do is sit out. You know, you tend to get scared the longer you stay out. So I just want to get back in the lineup and see if I could, you know, adjust really quick. I think I could make a better adjustment if I get in there.
Pags did adjust really quickly, hitting 5 homers in his next 7 games. And this year, Mike's also made an adjustment in the field, where he's combined slick fielding with spirited hustle to become one of the better third basemen in the league.
I'm not cool enough to go out there and just lay my glove on the ground and just get up there and take pitches all day and you know, just let my ability take over. You know, I try to be relaxed when I play, but I try to get every ball that's hit to me, and I try to take advantage of every pitch down the middle of the plate. So, you know, I'm playing as hard as I can play, and that's all I can ask of myself.
Now, let's open the notebook for This Week in Baseball's TWIB notes from around the American League. These days, the Baltimore Orioles are looking up in the standings, thanks in part to Storm Davis. The 24-year-old Davis recently evened his record after a slow start by beating the Texas Rangers for the 10th time without a loss in his career. Oriole pitchers have also been the beneficiaries of rookie Jim Traber's hot bat. In his first 17 games since replacing the injured Eddie Murray, Traber hit 8 homers and drove in 17 runs, helping the Birds move into second place. For Kansas City's Steve Balboni, Fenway Park is a mighty nice place to visit. In a recent 3-game series against the Red Sox, Balboni tamed the Green Monster by homering in all 3 contests. That gave him 5 homers in his last 5 games at Fenway. Now, this week's quiz brought to you by Nissan. Test drive the all-new Nissan truck hard bodies at your Nissan Datsun dealer now. Ricky Russ Mormon of the Chicago White Sox had something of a religious experience this week. After being called up from Buffalo, Mormon became only the 2nd player to get 2 hits in 1 inning in his Major League debut. Stay tuned for a battling broadcaster. National League Roundup. In Los Angeles, the Dodgers are coming on strong. The Dodgers have really moved into the swing of things out west, giving the first-place Astros plenty to think about. Tommy Lasorda's defending Western Division champions started the year slowly, but have now moved over the 500 mark for the first time since the first week of the season. Led by Fernando Valenzuela, the National League's first 15-game winner, the Dodgers took 2 out of 3 from the Astros and moved into third place. While the Dodgers were sneaking up on the rest of the West, pitcher Oral Hershiser was making his comeback right out in the open. Oral hovered around the 500 mark for the first half of the season, but now he's won 4 of his last 5, recapturing the form that makes him an important part of the Dodgers' impressive pitching rotation.
It was a great opportunity for me to come along with a great pitching staff with Fernando and Royce and Welch and the Honeycutts, because I learned the chemistry and what it takes, the winning solution of what it takes to win as a big league pitcher. And when they go out and pitch and they go and win, you can learn from the way they set up hitters, from the way they go about winning, the way they close games. And having that formula in front of you, all I have to do is copy it. The key to my success is really getting the batter to swing the bat but not hitting much of the ball. I was 8th in the league in strikeouts last year, but I'm really not considered a strikeout pitcher. I really believe there's 2 ways of setting up a hitter. There's a way that you can pitch to the guy and make him believe that he knows what the next pitch is coming, and then throw the opposite pitch. Throw that pitch that he knows what's coming, but put it in an area where he can't hit it. So there's the 2 ways, you try and fool him, or you try and throw him what he knows is coming, but either take a little off or put it in an area where he can't hit it.
Fortunately for the Dodgers, Mike Scioscia has been hitting ever since he returned to the lineup. With Scioscia once again catching after missing more than a month, the Dodgers won 14 out of 19 right after the All-Star break. And the guidance Scioscia provides behind the plate has been one of the main reasons.
He helps us tremendously because he's so intense behind the plate. He keeps us concentrating. He never gives his signs very lackadaisically. He's always very intense. He's that Italian bulldog, real tough guy back there. He comes out to the mound when you are getting lackadaisical yourself. He can tell by your mannerisms if you're not in the game, you're not pumped up, and he can come out there and get you going. And that's a real key, because a catcher that is nonchalant and lackadaisical, that reflects on the pitcher's attitude, and he is really a gamer. And when I mean by a gamer, he is always in the game and he's always ready.
Just like the Dodgers, who seem ready for a stretch drive. Now let's review this week in baseball's TWIB notes from around the National League.
Carlton with 3,999 career strikeouts. Here's the pitch. Swung on and missed. At 8:30 Pacific Daylight Time on August the 5th, 1986, Steve Carlton registered his 4,000th Major League strikeout.
The next day, Carlton shocked the baseball world by suddenly retiring, thus ending a certain Hall of Fame career highlighted by 319 wins and 4 Cy Young Awards. Lefty, we want to thank you. You're surely going to miss you. Houston's Mike Scott recently passed the 200 mark in strikeouts and now has a chance to reach the elusive 300 mark for the season. Thus far in the 80s, no pitcher in either league has struck out that many batters. In fact, the last National Leaguer to do so is another Astro, J.R. Richard, who struck out 313 in 1979. And now let's strike up the answer to this week's Nissan quiz. Billy Martin, who this year became a Yankee broadcaster, began his career with a bang when he became the first player to have 2 hits in 1 inning in his Major League debut. The year was 1950, and the Yankees were in the midst of a World Series run, which would see them win 5 consecutive titles from 1949 to 1953. Well, fans, it's time for some high-stepping, high-flying, big-league plays of high merit. First up, California Angels first baseman Wally Joyner. Chicago White Sox shortstop Ozzie Guillen. Montreal Expos second baseman Tom Foley. San Diego Padres right fielder Tony Gwynn. Oakland A's shortstop Alfredo Griffin. Boston Red Sox pitcher Roger Clemens. Montreal Expos center fielder Mitch Webster. More center fielders, Seattle Mariners John Moses. California Angel Gary Pettis. And Barry Bonds of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Around the third, Steve Buechele of the Texas Texas Rangers. Over at first, Toronto Blue Jay Willie Upshaw. And finally, Dusty Baker of the Oakland A's, who can still go get her. How about that? And now, for a look at some greats of the game from days gone by. This week in Cooperstown, New York, baseball's Hall of Fame opened its doors to 3 new members. Bobby Doerr's talents as the consistent, quiet leader of the Boston Red Sox during the 40s was finally recognized 35 years after he retired as the team's second baseman. Doerr's .288 career average included 6 100 RBI seasons, and for him, getting to the Hall was extra special.
Growing up, I'd hoped I could become a major league ball player and then hoped I could play in an all-star game and a World Series. Being inducted to the Hall of Fame today just tops off all the nice things that ever happened to me in baseball. I'm honored and just proud that I can be inducted to the Hall of Fame with Willie McCovey and Ernie Lombardi. Thank you.
Ernie Lombardi's induction was a long time coming, too. The Schnoz, as he was affectionately called, was a standout defensive catcher during the 30s and 40s who also won 2 batting titles. Despite those achievements, the late Lombardi is often recalled for his famous snooze in the 1939 series, which allowed Joe DiMaggio to score the winning run in the final game. Unlike Doerr and Lombardi, Willie McCovey didn't have to wait at all to be honored at Cooperstown. McCovey's powerful hands helped him hit 521 homers in his career, the most of any left-hander in National League history. And that, along with his personable manner, helped him get inducted in just his first year of eligibility.
One reason it seems so right today is because it's the summertime and it's Sunday. Sundays and summertime only mean 2 things to me. That means it's a time for baseball, it's a time for families. And now I have become a player on the most distinguished team of all. It's a new family in a way, a family of men whose accomplishments in baseball and in life set them apart from all others. And I am truly honored and blessed with this ultimate adoption, if you will. And I know my mother would not want me to leave this stage without thanking God Almighty. Thanks, Jesus. Thank you.
Congratulations, men. Welcome to Cooperstown. You certainly deserve the honor. Now, it's This Week in Baseball's 10th anniversary flashback, brought to you by Gatorade. Let's flash back to 1985. On the final day of the season, Phil Niekro tried for win number 300. For Phil, the day was both emotional and unusual, since the knuckleballing Niekro stayed away from his bread and butter pitch for nearly the entire game.
The game started, and we'd lost the pennant the day before. One more game really didn't mean a lot other than the 300th game. And I told Butch Running before the game, I said, let's go through the first thing without throwing any knuckleballs. And he said, okay, and we went in the dugout and came back to second. I said, let's do it again. Let's stay away from the knuckleball. And we did, and we got a couple of runs, and it got a little bit easier. It was up by 3 or 4 runs, and Willie Randolph came in from second base and said, what's going on? And I said, I'm not going to throw any knuckleballs today. And he laughed. He said, go for it. As the game kept progressing, we kept getting more runs, and I kept making up pitches on the mound. And every time I was in a knuckleball situation, I just came up with another pitch. I don't know, I must have threw 10 to 15 different type pitches that day. I just made them up. And I think they kept looking for the knuckleball the whole ball game, and I never threw it. We got down to the last inning. I still hadn't thrown a knuckleball. Then it hit me that if I'm going to win my 300th game, I've won 299 with knuckleballs. And my dad taught me the knuckleball, and he's in the hospital. I was just going to throw the best knuckleball of my life. I threw a good one he swung at, and the ball game was over, and then that made the whole year for me, not just that day.
Sharing the moment with Brother Joe also made Phil's day. Joe had recently become a Yankee, and he was there at a time when the Niekro brothers really needed to be together.
My father, our father, was in the hospital for quite a long time, actually fighting for his life a few times. Came out of when I went in to pitch that ball game, he was still in intensive care on an hour-by-hour, minute-by-minute situation. And when there was about 2 outs in the ball game in the bottom of the ninth when Joe came out there. So when I came off the mound, and the first thing Joe said was, "I got some good news for you." And I said, "What's that?" He said, "They just took Dad out of intensive care." So the 300th game for a while just wasn't fair. It was just the idea that Dad was out of intensive care. He was back on his feet. He was going to pull out of it. And I just couldn't think of a better way to hear, my brother say something like that than coming off the mound off the 300th win.
Quite an emotional moment for one of baseball's best-liked and celebrated families. Well, that's all for now, folks. See you next week on This Week in Baseball.